All right. Last episode, we talked about being in a calorie deficit. It is what it truly comes down to when the goal is fat loss. And yes, I know you've probably heard this before. You'll hear it again. You're like, Mike, I know, calorie deficit, calorie deficit. But this week, I want to talk about the actual feelings of it. Because, yeah, there are signs that you're on a deficit. It is what's needed. Calorie restriction, calorie deficit. It is what is needed to lose fat. But I want to go over the harder part. And that's what it feels like to live in one. So for the last 5 weeks, I've been dialed in. I've been laser focused with a goal of spring break coming up. I've been in a deficit phase. I planned out my macros. I do little self check-ins every week, and it's been going great. I started this process at average weight of 209.2, and as of the end of last week, I was down to 203. So about 6 pounds down over the course of 5 weeks, right where I want to be. So to live in a calorie deficit, on paper, it's simple, but it's not easy, right? We run into problems. There's hunger. There's low energy days. There's cravings. There's scale fluctuations. Honestly, the scale fluctuates more for the ladies. And there's lots of social pressure. So when you go on a deficit, you have to be ready for this. And if you don't learn how to handle it, it's going to beat you every time. So first off, there's the mental game. You need to accept that discomfort is part of the deal. And I know this isn't politically correct, but you're going to feel some hunger. You're supposed to be hungry at times. You're going to feel like you're restricted at times. Like you have to say no to things. Oh my gosh, that's so terrible. If it feels too easy, like all the influencers say on social media, you're probably not in a deficit. If it truly feels easy, like if you are not lean as you want, as fit as you want, as trim as you want, I don't care who you are and what coach you're working with. When they say these clickbaity things like, oh, this will be effortless, this will be simple, it's so easy. If you're not where you want to be, there's a reason you're not where you want to be, because that's been easy. Making changes, making big changes and changing what you do daily is not easy. This is not easy. Fat loss requires a little bit of controlled discomfort. Now, I don't want people to be starving, passing out, eating their pinky finger because they're so hungry. No. But don't get me wrong. There's going to be times where you got to say no to things. And you have to tap into your physical hunger. So you also got to learn to stop chasing perfection, because no one's perfect. If you missed a macro, you overate at a meal, it doesn't matter. The all or nothing mindset will kill people. It will drive you crazy. In the bigger picture, I always say we got to zoom out and look at this 10,000 foot view. If you overate at one meal, you still have the rest of the day to course correct. And you may say, well, Mike, I'm looking at my macros and calories and I only got 300 calories left, and that's not enough for a meal. Okay, now you have to make a decision. Do you want to only eat 300 calories and maintain your deficit for the day? Or do you want to overeat? And that's up to you. If someone's laser focused, I always say yeah, okay, only eat 300 calories at dinner. Let's figure out a way that we can do that with as much volume as possible. But then we got to reassess and make sure we don't end up in this situation tomorrow. Because even if you eat 300 calories at dinner, or if you have no dinner at all because, whoops, I used up all my calories at lunch, you're going to survive. You're going to be hungry. You're going to go to bed hungry, but you'll survive. You'll wake up. You'll be alive the next morning. I promise you that. Okay? I know this is going to ruffle some feathers, but that's okay. The weight fluctuations, you got to detach your emotion from them. It's going to go up and down and up and down. Again, I know I said at the start of this, I went from 209.2 down to 203. I didn't lose weight every day. Actually, the first week, 211.6, 208.2, 208.2, 208.4, 209.4. The second week, 211.4, 2084, 2074, 2076, 2072, 2052, 2068. There's ups and downs in there. But average, 2092, 2077, 206, 2045, and 203. Average moved down beautifully. Now let's talk about managing that hunger. And it's nothing different here. If you are prioritizing your protein, eating high fiber, high volume foods, and staying hydrated, it's the best you can do. It doesn't mean you won't be hungry. Hunger is feedback. It's simply that. It's not bad. It's not the enemy. It's just your body giving you feedback. So you got to learn how to manage it. Now, expect energy fluctuations. Some days you're going to feel great. Some days you're going to feel like you hit a wall. If we're doing a deficit right, you shouldn't be crashing out. Like, sometimes that can mean you're in too much of a deficit, which sometimes is needed. But you're going to have days where you're like, man, I'm just not as motivated as I thought. And not every workout's going to feel amazing. Some days the weights are going to feel heavy. But some days, if you prioritize sleep, quality nutrition, and you're doing it right, man, I've had some great workouts throughout this cut. I've had days where I feel foggy and dragging a little bit, and I kind of want to sit around a little bit more. But I've had some great workouts. Next thing, the part that no one wants to talk about, sleep becomes even more important. We know that even 2 poor nights of sleep will throw your hunger hormones for a loop. Good luck fighting against hormones. We all know people do silly things because of hormones. If you're having late nights, you're more likely to make worse food choices the next day, especially if those late nights include little, freebies, cheat meals, which frankly I'm not a huge fan of. There's things that we call red X days where it's like, okay, 1 or 2 days a month, if you're in a deficit, you can get away with. But again, expect the scale to be up the next day, and then you got to really be dialed in the next day. So if you go out, have one too many drinks, you're a little hungover the next day, we all know how hard it can be to get back on the wagon the next day and stick to your deficit because your body is craving that stuff. Next thing, you got to build your environment to win. If you're constantly trying to swim upstream, you're making it harder for yourself. So we've all got those foods that we know we just cannot have portion control around. Keep them out. Have that conversation with your spouse. They should be willing to help you out. Keep them out of the house, or be like, honey, you know how me and tortilla chips get along? Meaning I'm going to eat that whole bag in a sitting. If you're going to buy them because you have the self-control of a saint, and I love you, hide those. Don't tell me where you put them. Hide them. I always joke, I am actually, believe it or not, I'm inherently lazy. So if my wife puts something down on the bottom floor of the pantry, I'm not going to squat down and look down there. That's so far down. That's so far down. I'm not going to squat down and get there. So she knows where to put stuff. Down on the bottom, tuck behind stuff. I'm not going to go seeking it out. Keep the foods that you want to eat more of, the high protein, high fiber foods. Keep those easily accessible. And frankly, don't wait for willpower to show up. You have to build your environment to support your goals. Motivation is finite. Willpower is finite. It's tough. Now, look, I'm not asking anyone to be a hermit. I'm not telling you to not have a social life. But if you're in the thick of a fat loss phase, you've got to make strategic decisions. Again, anyone who tells you otherwise is full of it. Social events, travel, weekends. This may mean eating lighter earlier in the day, planning your meal out, having a rule on extra calories, alcohol, but also accepting that you're going to have imperfect days. And then the bigger thing is how you bounce back from that. So if you have a night where you're like, yeah, I went over my calories, I had more drinks than I planned on, okay, clean slate, next day, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You got to get back on track. It's not easy. You can't be drinking cocktails every night. I'll tell you that right now. If you want the body that you really are after, physique is your goal, fit, tight muscles, you can't be drinking, going out every night. Frankly, you got to be eating at home as much as possible. Because I always say the chef at the restaurant does not care about your macros. They are bathing stuff in oil and butter, and that's why it tastes so good. Now, you got to know when to push and when to adjust, and that's where a good coach comes in. Signs that you're good to keep going, don't make any changes. Hunger's manageable, energy's doing all right, and you're progressing. And you got to watch weekly trends, not daily. Frankly, sometimes it's twice every other week. Signs to adjust: if you're constantly exhausted, if you're dreaming about food, you're obsessing about food, and your performance is tanking hard, but the scale's still going down. You don't want to be there. I promise you. Coming from a person who's been there, you don't want to be there. So a good deficit will challenge you. A bad deficit will absolutely smoke you. Good luck. Good luck staying on that. Now finally, the bigger picture. You are not, and let me reiterate that, you are not supposed to diet forever. You are not supposed to be. I talk to so many people, so many women, unfortunately, that I say, when was the last time you weren't trying to lose weight? And they can't answer that question. They've been trying to deficit their whole lives. If the goal is the physique that you want, you have to have strategic seasons, like an athlete has a preseason, in-season, post-season, off-season. You have to do the same thing. Physique is a measure of leanness and a measure of muscle mass. So lower fat, higher muscle gives the look. You need to spend time not trying to lose weight, but trying to build muscle. And that's a whole different diet. That is not a deficit. You need to be at maintenance and a very minor surplus. And that's scary for women. But again, you are not meant to diet forever. This is a phase. You go to maintenance, you reverse diet, you find your rhythm. The biggest problem is people go from deficit back to what they're doing before. It's strategic. Arguably, the maintenance reverse diet phase is more important than the deficit itself. Because if you didn't make all those lifestyle changes and none of them stuck, good luck. You're going to get derailed fast. Lastly here, one of my favorite things, I've said it here, I'll say it again. Discipline is always going to be infinitely greater than motivation. Motivation fades. Habits and structure will carry you through. I don't feel motivated to work out every day. I don't feel motivated to track macros. But it's a discipline thing. So this short-lived 6-week window, eyes on the prize, spring break, executed damn near perfect. It went well. And we've had nights out. Went out for dinner and a show the other night, had a couple drinks, but made decisions at dinner and before dinner, at the show. Budgeted for things. It is possible. It's not something you can do a lot, but it's possible. So to bring it all home here, fat loss, it's pretty simple, right? It's being a caloric deficit, but it's not easy. Discomfort. You got to be ready for some challenge. You got to be ready to make some sacrifices. So if you can manage the mental and the physical challenges that come with being in a deficit, you'll find success. And then you got to get out of it. And then you got to find baseline. And then when it's time, if you still got more fat to lose, then you do it when it's appropriate. But this is not a 8-week, 12-week, 16-week program here, my friends. This is lifestyle. And the people who stick to it and have phases change their lives forever.